Welcome everybody to this amazing roundtable directly from India and Poland, because Sandeep is in Poland right now and Rocio and me, we are in Spain. So feel welcome to this roundtable. My name is Diego Cabo. I'm part of the team of Spanish startups, co-organizer of this amazing HackSTEM event. And here in the roundtable is also Rocio from Siemens Gamesa.
Hi, thank you for joining today. It's really exciting. It's our first webinar, and we are in India for these amazing panelists who are going to talk about digital transformation, something that for all the industry is very important nowadays. Then thank you all of you for participating as panelists, but also as attendees. Thank you. We're looking forward to hear all of the questions you may have for these amazing people we have here today with us.
So, yeah.
I'll pass the floor again to you, Diego.
So, yeah, we will start in 1 minute. Just remember you that if you have any question, we will control and see them and pass to the speakers. So feel free and feel confident to do a lot of questions to these amazing speakers. And let's start. Please, Sandeep. You are on mute.
Sorry. Yeah. Greetings to everyone. Welcome to HackSTEM 2022. I'm delighted to join distinguished experts from India, Professor Pratap Haridas, Professor KV Gangadharan, as we call him Ganga, Professor Akila Muthuramalingam, and myself. We all represent a diverse set of expertise when it comes to education space, and we have carried out different sets of experiments, particularly in last 2 years during the tenure of what we call COVID or pandemic. And we have a lot to share and exchange with you in terms of what were the success stories, what was achieved out of that. Keeping all that in mind, this HackSTEM, which is for now another 55 minutes or so, we have given time to each of the speakers somewhere around 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to share their thoughts. I'll also request, while I invite the experts to give their introduction in half a minute or so, or maybe a little more if required, and later part of the webinar or this address, we'll keep it for the Q&A from the audience or within us also, if it is so required. So we all know that we are talking about digital education boom in India. What will be the impact for local communities? And the context, of course, is the education. Digital boom has impacted almost all areas of the, you can say, operation in the current context, but we are all from education background. So we'll talk about the impact which we have purely on education, mainly focusing on what we call the higher education, where the vibrancy and the diversity of use was pretty high. So keeping this in mind, there are many, you can say, subtopics which one can cover. That did we make the enrollments more? Did we continue with the education the way it should be? Did we offer the laboratories the way they should have been? Could we conduct the examinations, etc., in time? Or are students happy and satisfied with that? Or what was the involvement of society at large in terms of making education effective? I think these are some of the sub-themes which we are covering during our interaction right now. And with this theme in mind, I would suggest that I invite the first speaker for this particular interaction. And that is none other than Professor Pratap Haridas, who represents the IIT Madras, one of the leading institutions of the country, an institution which has carried out many unique experimentations in providing leadership to higher education, be it entrepreneurship or be it innovation or be it the expansion of education. IIT Madras is a force to reckon with. Professor Pratap is going to share some aspects of online education, particularly the hybrid education and how it was scalable and how it has achieved the quantity as well as quality, especially in recent times. I think those are the views he's going to share. I'll also request Professor Pratap to introduce himself with his expertise, own expertise, before he starts sharing. So welcome, Professor Pratap.
You need to unmute, sir.
Thank you, Sandeep, for that introduction. Good afternoon, good evening to all of you, depending on where you are. I am Pratap Haridas. I'm a professor in the Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering at IIT Madras. I have also been part of the online education activities at IIT Madras, along with several of my colleagues. And we have experimented quite extensively in this area. And I'm really glad that I get this opportunity to share some of our experience with you. So the setting in India certainly is that we have a very high demand for education, for high quality education, and the supply is relatively limited. Of course, each nation, based on its I think immediate constraints, has always had some package that works for its population. In India, we have been forced to use entrance examinations as a way of down selecting from a large set of applicants to a small set of selected students who can then attend our universities. And usually this is a very I would say very a strong attrition process. So we normally have maybe several 100,000 students, so maybe 200, 300,000 students applying for what are considered as very well sought after engineering education seats, and usually only about 1% of them will get that opportunity. So this has been particularly harsh. I would say it has a huge social impact. There's a lot of pressure on young children, and there's a lot of support system that has been built for it to train the children to write those exams. But that's again harsh on the kids, because they are actually going through very rigorous training at an age when they should probably be more free to explore the world. And this is kind of harsh on them. But that's the reality we are forced to face, because the seats are less, and there has to be some process of justifying why we are permitted one student to get that seat and others who were asked to not, who are held back. And so in fact one key part of our education process unfortunately becomes an elimination process. So we have 100,000 students applying for a seat, and we are finding out ways to first eliminate 99,000 students, so that the 1,000 that are remaining are the ones who get that opportunity. So this has been a very harsh reality in the education system, and we have always been looking for ways to get past this process. And the online education avenue, the hybrid education avenue, and the fact that we have really developed all these tools which are which enable these kinds of educational opportunities, has been a huge boon for the Indian education system, I would say. And also for the last 20 years, in fact, we have been putting our lectures and courses online for students to see. And we've had, in fact, a huge appreciation for it. We have every year we have about nearly 2 million students access our content every year, and about 200,000 of them write our exams for specific courses. So in this sense, IIT Madras has taken a significant step in leading online education initiative. We coordinate with the other IITs across the nation and IISc, and offer these courses. And these are individual courses. These are not degrees. These are individual courses. But where we distinguish ourselves from, say, any other commercial entity which is also offering online courses, because these days there are many such entities that are available, is that we offer a rigorous course. So if you have a strong engineering topic, which could be, for example, let's say vibrations of underwater structures. So this would be very useful for somebody who is working on an oil rig somewhere, or a civil engineer somewhere, or an ocean engineer somewhere. That kind of a course is very difficult to get in many of the standard commercial settings. We give this on basically a not-for-profit basis. You can get a very high-quality course, which is taught in a rigorous way with a lot of depth to the content. So there's a huge, audience that really appreciates such courses. So this is one direction we have taken, and this is available internationally. People anywhere in the world can take these courses. They have to visit the site of the National Program for Technology Enhanced Learning, NPTEL, and there are ways from there that they can enroll for these courses, write our exams, and so on. It is totally on a not-for-profit basis, so the costs are very nominal. We have now also taken a lot of learning from this, a lot of learning and confidence of dealing with large numbers through this program. And using that, we have now started a degree program, a BSc degree program in programming and data science areas. And again, we have been able to reach out to our audience, which is across the country, and a few international students as well. Where they are able to take our courses, write exams locally. They are not having to come to IIT Madras to write the exam. They write the exam locally. We have built the processes in place to enable this, and we are maintaining rigor. So that is, I think, one of the major things that we learned through our NPTEL effort, which we have also introduced into our degree effort, which is how to scale while still holding the rigor. And a very critical part of this is assessment. How rigorous we are with respect to assessment, how serious we are with respect to assessment, how we ensure the the honesty and cleanliness of the assessment process internationally, wherever they are. We have gone to a lot of pains to do this, and that is what makes the scalability something that is actually achievable on the ground. So we are happy that we have been able to do this. A lot of students across the country are now getting alternate ways to get access high quality education, and also get degrees through the process, and that's a learning that we have had, and we are now in fact we assist other institutes also to help them get off the ground on something like this. So I think those were some of the ideas I wanted to share. Maybe I will halt now, and later we can come back to this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Pratap, for that initial part of your journey in terms of how NPTEL has led to this kind of an expansion and success. In India, NPTEL is very well known, and we know some of the statistics that NPTEL is sought after by industry people, in-service people, and people from everywhere in the world. It is some of the audience, if you do not know, it's Indian equivalent of MOOC, which was started some 20 years back with the Government of India initiative. And really staggering figure when you told us something about that around 2 million students access your courses, and roughly 10% of that 0.2 million, 200,000 students take exams, and so on and so forth. And I know that your BSc data science, which you're referring to, is a huge hit. And I sincerely hope that it's now not limited to 0.1 or 0.01% of people who applied. It's much more. So one question to you, quick one. How do you then maintain the level of attention or the quality or interaction, which was a difficult thing to begin with?
A great question. So we've done multiple things we are experimenting with. Of course, we have videos which are of 20-minute, 25-minute duration, but we also have I would say an army of instructors whom we call course instructors, who run live sessions. So we do a lot of live sessions which run for several hours, and as a student, you can log into any one of those live sessions. You can ask questions, answer other students' questions. We have a lot of, and given this nature of this program, which is on programming and data science, there are many coding questions that they have to do. So it is not just multiple choice, answers that they can do some wild guessing on. They actually have to code, and those kinds of experiences make them make the learning process very real for them. That is also part of the reason why we chose this particular fields, programming and data science, to get started. So.
For sure, we are waiting for the outcomes, because I think the program started 2 or 3 years back. The results will be out very soon in terms of the success rate, attainments, satisfaction by the students and industries themselves. So we look forward to that. Please keep sharing such details with us from time to time. And we now move on to our second distinguished speaker, Professor K.V. Gangadharan, who was a very distinguished colleague of mine way back in 2006-7 to 2012 when we were working together. I'm very happy to join hands with him on this occasion. Professor Gangadharan has been a person who is an experimentalist, who believes in delivering goods, who believes in shaping what he is trying to do to the fullest extent. And as a result, he has given birth to many, many successful multidisciplinary technologies which are being used publicly or otherwise in the industry, also in the institutions. And he has also led to something very, very big in terms of success of what we call virtual labs, which were initiated once again by Government of India initiative in 2010, around 9-10. And NITK Surathkal, where he comes from, was the founder, one of the founder for such an activity. And I'm sure he's going to talk about that, because that became one of the very important aspects of delivering online education. So I'll invite Professor Gangadharan with a request that he gives a small introduction of his own, and to talk about what we call experiential learning, that how it has been delivered through an online method. And also, what were the challenges you might have faced many times, because your students come from all over the country or maybe abroad also, some from rural background, some from not so well-to-do background. What were the kind of challenges they faced, Professor Gangadharan? Can you please share your thoughts and your knowledge about it? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Sanjeti. It is an honor to be with you and in this August gathering. So greetings from my institute, National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, Surathkal. And Professor Pratap just mentioned 1 million to 1.5 million people are looking for higher studies, especially in STEM in India. Out of that, roughly 0.1% get into the institutions. So now there is a large amount of filtration which happens. There, how do we provide actual experiential learning was the question. To begin with, let me just introduce myself as Professor K.V. Gangadharan from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, Surathkal. It is in Karnataka, southern part of India. And we have a center called Center for System Design, where we find solution to the problem without looking at which stream of engineering or science or field it belongs. We are here to find solution to the problem, not problem in every solution. So that is a way in which we position ourselves, make our students to work together. And let us look at education. Let me put it this way, as gathering information, converting that into knowledge, applying to solve the problems, any kind of problem. Now, if you want to gather information and convert that into knowledge, and how do we get that? We need to make sure we study, practice, experience, and practice. Now, I'm looking at the term experience. In this difficult situation when everybody has gone online, can we provide experiential learning to every topic or every concept? And if possible, how do we do that? And that too in a country like India, where we have diverse background in terms of infrastructure and availability of device and connection, etc. So the Ministry of Education started it way back in 2010. That time, many were looking at it with a laugh. Is an experiential learning module available online going to help anyone when you can go to a laboratory and do the experiment?
The laboratory was not available to every nook and corner and every institution in India. So the initial start was to make sure experiential learning modules were made available to the learners at learner's place, learner's pace, and learner's period. That is the 3P: learner's place, learner's period, and learner's pace itself, so that they can experiment with and enjoy the concept rather than just remember the concept. So what I will do is I'll just show you 1 or 2 experiments what we have created. Then we'll also tell you how it has spread and what was the difficulties we faced. Let me just share my screen. So I would like to show you our the website where students online laboratory through virtual experimentation were in. This was a term which was coined by Dr. Sanjay Sanjeti, and we sat together and to find this expression called solve, indicating to solve problems. So students online laboratory through virtual experimentation, which is a part of virtual lab, Ministry of Education's activity. So there we have created few labs and few experiments are available. I'll just show you one of the experiment wherein I'm just trying to show a simple experiment. I'll just trigger the experiment first. And this is an actual experiment which is available at NITK, Center for System Design. I'm just zooming it to show you the picture. This is a simple pendulum. I've just triggered that sitting at my home. It could be anywhere. If you have a connected device, a computing device with a connection anywhere in the world, you should be able to do an actual experiment sitting at your place. So even if you haven't got into that 0.1% in India, which is for the elite colleges or education institutions, you still have an opportunity to do an experiment and learn experientially. So this is one such example which I would like to show. And here, it is not that just do one experiment. I can trigger this experiment multiple times. There is no, I'm just changing the length. Just look at this. I'm just improving the size there. You can see the ball of the pendulum which moves down. I have just instructed to move it down. Remember, those who are from a computing background will realize the complexity, that the kind of exception handling which we may have to do. And this becomes a perfect example for a transdisciplinary work, wherein students from different domains came together to create this. All these are created by NITK students or the students who study here or who come here for internship, etc. Now I have just changed the length and I will again trigger this. So an actual experiment can be performed by sitting at a remote place. Will it give all the skill set? I do agree, it may not, but a student can repeatedly do this experiment at his learning place, pace, and period. His choice of time, his choice of pace, how often he has to do, all that can be done. So this takes care of experiential learning being provided to multiple unprivileged or less privileged people who may not have the opportunity to get into a real good institute and learn. So this is one part I thought we should highlight. It can also get into areas where it can be just a lab and explanations given like this in the simulation mode that is available in virtual lab website. This is the virtual lab website which I'm showing you now. It's a Ministry of Education's activity wherein you can go to any of this field and do experiments, either a simulation based experiment or an experiment which can be performed on an actual the experimental setup. So with that, let me stop sharing the screen. Here we found quite few difficulties. Initial phase when 2010, bandwidth was a major issue. Non-availability of devices with every learner was another issue. But let me use the word thanks to COVID, that become quite popular. And now we have great usage happening all around. NITK as an institute itself has around 400 engineering colleges within India being connected as nodal centers. So we are so proud that we could be a part of such an initiative and could get in. Now, we also got connection from IIT Madras Alumni Association parts, who helped us in creating more institutions, getting connected with NITK, and we could even start developing virtual labs by IIT Alumni Association's parts group participating institutions, so that we could get this out of the normal, these elite institutions, and make sure that it is more democratized. So with this, let me stop now. I'll take up the questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gangadharan, for showcasing us the beautiful virtual laboratory setup, and also about your Center for System Design. Before we let you kind of take rest in this, I have one or two questions for you. Number one, you have established what we call the Center for System Design, which you are claiming highly multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary approach, and you find solutions for each and everything. So how difficult has been that journey, or what were the critical factors for your success in that center? Can you just quickly elaborate on that?
Thank you for that question, sir. In fact, Center for System Design, when it started, it was more a laughing stock. And in fact, if people don't laugh at your idea, please, then don't start that. I mean, that was the way in which we started. Even it is same to the virtual lab. People used to call me virtual Gangadharan quite often. But that laughter gave us a lot of energy. That is, this is an idea to work with. And when we started it, making two faculty members within a department having two streams was difficult. There I was talking about transdisciplinary, wherein sociologist, psychologist, doctor, and engineer working together without really looking at the branch. So initially it was tough, and even now it is tough. But once we get a nice problem statement, people take it to them, then the motivation comes. We found that a lot of success in multidisciplinary area, especially in the case of medical devices and some cases in industrial activity, we are finding a lot of developments happening. People are coming forward, but the languages are slightly different. Hence, getting together takes a little more time than expected. A mechanical engineer talking to mechanical engineer is easy, but mechanical engineering talking to a civil engineer itself become difficult. So then we are talking about transdisciplinary. There is a delay in getting things moving, but it is moving now.
Success can never be easy, is what you have said. And the challenges which people throw around you actually should be converted into drive to achieve them or make them solvable. And that is what we have seen both from IIT and an IIT alumnus who is now serving NITK Surathkal. So we know how these institutions have contributed to the success of what we are achieving. And now I'll take it forward by inviting Professor Akila Muthuramalingam, who, Madam, I'll request you to introduce yourself also in a brief before you share your thoughts. But she would be taking us through some of the topics or points of how it has digital education has led to what we call as societal upliftment, or also how it has supported certain activities of social domain or some actions of social domain. I think these are the lines on which Madam is going to share some of the views. So welcome to you. Please take your time and introduce these points to us. Thank you.
Yeah, greetings to all present here, and thank you, Hackstem. It's a great opportunity for us all to connect in this August presence of great leaders, I should say. This digital education, I think in India, in the last 3 years, maybe it is mainly because due to the COVID-19, the digital boom, how it had impacted the society. That was the topic which I wanted to talk. Literally speaking, from India, it was from March 2022, really it took June 2020. it was a gray area, I should mention. After that, the online education, even the government, I'm not mentioning the urban cities, I'm talking about the rural India, because that is the vast population. Two kind of education I should tell, school education and collegiate education, how it had impacted. To be honest, the IT infrastructure in India, it's not that great as urban cities. But this last 3 years, the IT infrastructure has improved a lot. Government has taken so many initiatives to improve the infrastructure in the government schools, government aided schools, and even the private schools, because the online education has to taken from home. The IT infrastructure was improvised to the core. All the budget went to IT infrastructure. So that's a great impact, I should say, to the society, especially to rural India, or maybe urban or semi-urban cities. And during this transformation, we received many requests from government and semi-government agencies, that the educational institutions who are nearby government schools and other things, they wanted to share our internet facilities and computing facilities. And many of us were very glad that we had school children in the college, because the 10th and plus 2 were board exams, and we shared our internet facility and the computing facilities, so that the government school teachers were inside our campus and taking the online classes for the children. So this made us that it looked like not as an CSR, but ISR, I should say, institutional social responsibility. So each institution had their time and facility, which was given to the public these hard times, I should say. And when it comes to the impact is the teachers, the students, and even the government. We were able to understand the online tools. Yeah, before we would say video conferencing, Skype, all these things were a few terms we knew, but now we are very, very familiar with. Can we meet in Google? Can we meet in can we Zoom? That has been the terminologies. It's very common among even the public. So nowadays what happens is, even though the COVID cases are not there, now the meetings are online in India, even if you are in very close. So convenient. This digital transformation is so high in India, I should say that, because 200 billion people are with mobile phone. This is the transformation, I should say, and 200 billion are having the internet with them now. So this education, online education, as rightly pointed out by the speakers before, NPTEL, I should say NPTEL courses are in the prime time now, because even in the curriculum and syllabus, we have allowed the students to take the credits from NPTEL, so that they can skip some of the professional electives or open electives. So that is another impact, I should say, in the college. Next is the virtual lab. What our professor said is rightly he pointed out that the experiential learning, and we are also a part of the few experiments in virtual lab. Since I am being the computer science background, I very well know the difficulty in the programming and other things, and making real-time application is so difficult, and hats off to NIT Karnataka for having such experience, because our own students enjoyed the experiential learning during these hard times, during the experiments from their home. And support actions, I should say, the industry, especially IT industry and other manufacturing industries, they sponsored through their corporate social responsibility for the digital education in India, especially the rural children. They gave their in terms of monetary benefits to the school and the colleges, to improving the IT infrastructure, to give the digital education so that it reaches every home, every nook and corner. So this, I think it's a boom, education boom. And then again, Coursera was free for us. for India. Coursera, I think the courses were free. Udemy was in a discounted price, and so this online education, videos, animation, and all graphics related, everything was there in the internet for the children of India to learn in their own pace, and they were able to understand that we can learn in the classroom and online from anywhere. With this small note, I stop for the questions.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Akila from KPR Institute of Engineering and Technology for sharing your views.
So,
very happy to learn that you use a multitude of support system to make digital education succeed, both in institution as well as in the school education. And of course, your views were very clear that the new brick and mortar for education institutions are nothing but IT systems and subsystems, not the brick buildings and concrete structures, but the new brick and mortar is nothing but IT. And to begin with, you started sharing things. You took help of what you called CSR, and you also extended the help in form of what you called ISR, institutional social responsibility. That's fine. We should help each other. I think that's something very nice. So some time back, we were mooting an idea of something of this nature to formalize this in Indian higher education system. And that was related to what we call creating, like we have internet cafes, can we create academic cafes? Suppose I'm stuck in a rural setting. I'm unable to get the bandwidth or the devices which I need. And I want to connect to my institution while I'm in my town or rural setting. And can there be a neighborhood institution which creates a space and creates an academic cafe? I can just walk in and use it for my academic purposes. I think that could have been very nice. It will help them in examination, help them in virtual lab, help them in learning courses. What are your thoughts? Can we formalize this kind of a concept called academic cafes, like internet cafes? Share your views if you can.
yeah, that's a fantastic idea. And it has to be conceptualized, because I believe that laboratories and other facilities which is available in all institutions, when we look at the utilization rate, is very, very low. So in the formal office hours, it's fine. That's okay. We will be using that. But what about beyond office hours? If we are able to open, like you rightly pointed out, academic cafe, or set up a separate place where any needy people can come and use the facility, I think it's really great. It's a really great idea. And if every institution have that idea, and it budget them and make a space for that, I think we can improve the digital education, or whatever the quality of education of India. We can do that, sir.
Thank you. Let's all join hands to attempt such things, what we have talked about, or new things which we have talked about. However, I'll now take my turn to share some points on support of digital education. And classroom activity, laboratory activity are fine, or having some physical resources are equally important. But if I touch upon some other issues, I think that will make our discussion a little bit more complete. Number one, everything cannot be done from within the system today. It's an age where we help each other. And there has been a big boon of what we call edtech companies coming to our rescue in these times. What we were not able to do has been done by the edtech companies. Where we were not scalable, they have done it. Where we did not have the technology, they produced it. And where we needed to expand, like education beyond 25 or lifelong education, where we didn't have much of the offerings and systems, they have done it. And once again, connecting dots between multiple disciplines, the edtech companies have been able to do it very significantly. And that is the reason we have seen rise of, the last figure I know in India was around 800 edtech companies working. This was something like 3 to 6 months back. I do not know today how many are there. There are companies like Coursera's and Udemy and other things which you talked about. There are companies like Byju's and QMath and others doing various things which are there. And there are companies which are doing both the modes also. So there are a number of offerings which are there. And I'm sure that will make the education more vibrant, more scalable, more updated, and very helpful. So that's one domain which we should look at more positively. And in my opinion, they can be really a good ground for our growth and stability, especially under such circumstances when pandemic etc. comes. The second thing is education cannot be complete without assessment. I'll not go into what is assessment and examinations and all that. Therefore, they are for me the similar kind of things to make it simple. Of course, there are subtle differences which are there. And without that, it becomes incomplete. And those domains were not at all digital to a large extent in India. And all of a sudden, we were forced to switch, you can say, gears and directions and do that. And that too at a short notice. That too with the challenge of what we face generally of invigilation and students not misusing the examination platforms. And it was really hard on institutions. It was really hard on students also. Students because they didn't have continuity of access, quality of access, or maybe devices. And teachers because some students were mischievous and they were playing all with the system and they didn't know how to control it also. And then there were challenges on our side also for scalability. But today I must say that at least 2 to 3 dozen companies constantly reach us almost every week to offer their services in examination domain. We at Marwadi University have developed our own system completely, which allows us to do the examinations online. And something like 2 dozen of challenges which students will throw at us will be captured from any device, be it mobile or laptop or any other computing device which they might use, which may be listening to other voices or sharing your screen or switching on and off or having duality of connection or whatever such things which are there. And they are, some of them are AI based, some of them they are there. And I was myself a part of such experimentation and they've been done beautifully. And therefore, why should now we not use such things regularly? Why should we waste a lot of time in examination and invigilation, which on an average in a normal Indian institution, half a day will be going into examination duties of that nature. When technology can do it nicely, capture the defaulters, capture all the proof of wrongdoing, and make sure that things are done systematically, I think technology can be a boon. So once again, digital technologies have helped the educations, this part of assessment, and the assessments can be fair and fast. Assessment can be fail-proof, that I have not examined one question, I have not done the right totaling, and that I'm not checking the copies when I'm traveling, like I'm traveling today, but I can still do it if the digital technologies are used in examination. So it's a huge boon. Another experiment which I'll say is sharing of library resources. Library is the key element of that. And I know that within 10 to 15 days of pandemic striking our institution, at that time I was leading one of the largest institution of the country, SRM in Chennai, and we had the challenge that how do we allow students access, because they had to leave for their homes without taking books and all that. They didn't have time, they didn't have the right bookings to travel and all that. And therefore, we bought licenses of softwares like RemoteX, through which you can log in into the system, distribute the whole thing effectively. At that time, the publishers and operators probably didn't have their own solutions to allow our students to access the facilities from wherever they want. So we had to buy additional digital tools to make it happen, and which is what really helped us. And therefore, once again, it gave rise to edtech companies, it gave rise to innovation, and it gave rise to what we call open access, easy access, 24/7 access. You don't have to just crowd the library or any space. You can do it from anywhere, even when you're traveling. So that was another you can say positive outcome which came. And the last outcome I would possibly like to put it is in the domain of what we call the ERP in the normal parlance, but URP in educational parlance, University Resource Planning. And URP, or maybe in simple terms, MIS was really boon. And integration of MIS or URP with all our, you can say, platforms for academic delivery were equally important, and those integrations were done. And formally, we could see that the efficiency was there, whether it was attendance or showing marks or planning courses or registering for courses or selecting optional things, and all that was easily possible. And today it has become a norm that everyone has to have such a system. Everyone is now trying to integrate and make the educational platforms from admission to alumni fully digital. There is a traceability, there is a proper recording, timely recording and updation of the documents, and then of course delivery of the details wherever it is required, verification, etc. And you know that now that platforms like ABC, which are being launched, already we had NDL and all that. So there are many other experiments where digital is the way to go, and that was possibly the requirement for us in all sense. These were some of the successes which we attained in these times. And all in all, every aspect of education, from classroom delivery to laboratory to examination to sharing of resources and helping each other, everything was made possible by digital way. And that's the nature of digital technologies, that they are highly scalable. So keeping that in mind, I would say that last 2 years, they were years of turmoil. But when it comes to education, they were years of force change and success, which was not necessarily there earlier because we were not receptive to change. So external circumstances forced us for that change. So with that, possibly I would now tend to open the platform for Q&A. I will request either Diego or Madam Rocio, if we have some questions from the audience, please raise it to the concerned expert. And if not, I have certain sets of things which I can probably raise to the experts. So Mr. Diego, Madam Rocio, please take over and share the questions if you have.
Yes, thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Ganga. Thank you, Akila and Pratap. That was
actually one.
Sorry, Rocio. I think we'll...
Please go ahead. I just wanted to say that in case you wanted to take all of the questions, I have 3 questions while we're waiting for the people to ask their own questions.
Okay, fine.
You want me to go ahead with my questions?
Please do so, Rocio, please.
The 3 questions I had so much insights of what is going on in India. My 3 questions at first, I would like to know in which proportion do you think that COVID-19 has accelerated all the things that were probably already starting? Second, do you have already some alliances with universities outside of India to use those virtual laboratories? And the third one is, how do you see the success of this kind of digital tool is having among high schoolers?
So may I request Professor Pratap and Professor K.V. Gangadharan to answer the first 2 and let Madam Akila answer the school part later. So 3 of you, please take your turn to answer your parts.
Thank you, Rocio, for the question. You're right. I think to some degree we were already doing a lot of online education activity before COVID-19 hit us all and then, required us to do something more. Where I see the difference is the acceptability of the online medium as something that either just because of the times or the fact that more of it is available, the acceptability has gone up in a very significant way. And I can see that at various levels. So a simple thing I will tell you is um, with regard to our PhD programs, we always have a final Viva, PhD Viva. And in the past, it was almost, a non-negotiable step that this would have to happen, non-negotiable condition that this would have to happen in person. And so whoever was the external examiner would have to fly to, say, IIT Madras, or I would have to go somewhere. And this had to happen in person. And if this was a remote location, this would in fact often be a 3-day trip. We would have to go the previous day, do the Viva, and then return the next day. So this was a 3-day process for essentially a Viva, which would be maybe an hour and a half or a 2-hour meeting. So this was fairly routine. Universities would refuse to accept anything online and so on. So now I think that has changed. Definitely today, all the PhD Vivas, I can literally come off a class and then join the Viva 2 minutes later. So, and everybody accepts it. The same, regulatory bodies which refused to accept it before are now quite comfortable with it. At most, they want the video to be on for some time so that they can have a record that indeed it was the right, examiner who was there at the in the meeting. That's about all. So that way, acceptability has gone up. I will also say that, I don't know if I'm using the right words, but basically, if COVID had hit the general, hit us all in the world, say 10 years earlier, I think we would have been in much worse shape because just, the infrastructure was just picking up. We were nowhere close to the kind of infrastructure that all of us sort of assume is available. So if this had happened in 2010, I think we would have been in very big trouble because everything, even making purchases online, making payments online, running a class online, having a discussion online, none of this would have been possible. I think we would have really ground to a halt in a much more significant manner if this had happened 10 years earlier. So I think the infrastructure has certainly improved. I'm sure, I understand clearly that, in Europe and so on, your infrastructure has been definitely better than what it has been in India. But wireless infrastructure has gone up dramatically in India. We find people who probably can't afford many other facilities, but they'll certainly have a mobile phone. So that's the level of penetration of mobile technology here. And they are able to afford it. They desire it. They would rather have it as their first preference in their hand, and therefore using that to reach them for educational activities has also been easier. So I think number of factors chipped in various ways and assisted us in, as you say, something that was already slowly building up. And I think the acceptability has gone up dramatically.
Yeah, so Professor, on the lighter side, I would like to ask you, was the pandemic in right time or was the emergence of digital education in right time?
Yes, that's a very good question. In fact, that's exactly why I was struggling for the right words to use, because there's nothing right about the pandemic, but really, in this case, it seemed to work out okay.
So I must tell you, in this case, an experiment which we were doing with your own university institution, IIT Madras, when Professor Anand was the director, 2010, some of us came together to seed a new initiative called Virtual University at that time. And I must say that we failed. And failed because this was ahead of time. The availability of digital technologies and connectivities were not in place at that time. And therefore, my answer to my question is the pandemic came in right time to help us with what we are doing today. So thank you for that. I'll ask Professor Gangadharan to answer the second part on the virtual lab, which Feroz you had asked. Please.
Yeah, good. That was a nice question in a well-framed way, Rosio, because the improvement is maybe not in 10x, maybe 100x. That is the rate at which it was growing. Quickly adapted. And when we were forced to adapt, it was easy to adapt. When we were requested to adapt, it was not possible to adapt. That was a condition. because I know 10 years I have been behind people for making virtual lab usage. We had hardly less than 100 colleges signed up. And in that 100 colleges, there was only 20-25 colleges which were using it. Just the little virus could get into 400, and all 400 colleges with roughly 1,000 students usage, that is 400 into 1,000, that is a kind of usage. That way, it was more than 100 times improvement. One. Second, did we get foreign university collaboration? That was one question asked. Did we have it, India going out? Fortunately, we could get many requests for converting some of our virtual lab into the native language of that country. Without mentioning the countries, we had specific requests, and we did it all free of cost. In fact, we did not know what we are writing, because they were saying this has to be written here, because that was in their language. And such modifications we did and made it available to them as a standalone. It was not on our website, but as a standalone thing we could provide. You see that universalization of education happened so well. And we also started using many of the international university resources quite well, along with Indian university resources, which was plenty and available, and made it possible easy to make it available to us on the online mode. These are the two changes which I saw. It was when it is forced, we were easily accepted it and adopted it.
Thank you.
Great. That's very nice. And forced conditions sometimes would help us do such things. But it has gone beyond the borders, as you rightly answered. Internationalization, many languages. I think that's the order of the day. When the world is shrinking, we're living in a global village, such things should happen. And very happy that this is happening in education domain. Thank you for that. Let's request Professor Akila to share her views on the social aspects which were asked by Roshi.
Yeah, as I said, social aspects, every Indian was very much particular about their children's studies. What will happen next? How will India combat with the COVID and education? Nobody thought that education will happen in a mobile phone. And because in all institutions, mobile phone is restricted. Mobile phone is restricted. The board will be hanging in every happen that education has come into a small handheld device, not with a laptop, especially because many were not affordable to laptop in few cases in India. And mobile phones were the only possible way for education to happen. And as a few speakers mentioned, the accessibility improved, and as such, the acceptability of the education happening in mobile phone, even though it was tough for the children, switching on the video and other things, it was little tough, and a greater difficulty for the teacher, because teaching all through the day. I should say that the physical presence in college or school was only the difference. We were having official hours during the. We will be at home. We should get ready by 8 for the official hours at home. That's the only difference I can say, because like advanced countries, India is not used to such kind of situation, this online and digital, and so it was all like a dream, but dream came true. Actually, dream came true, and I should say that it's a tremendous improvement in education sector. And edutech, even many of the colleges have taken edutech as one of their tool, where all industrial problems and industrial applications, whatever they have done as a project, it's available online now, but you have to pay for that. But it's good that we might not be able to go and visit remote places where the industry projects are going on. Now we can see it online, or it's a recorded where industry people themselves explain about how the project is being handled, and how engineering application is done. And it's so interesting for the students also, rather than YouTube and other things. So I should say it's a boon for India.
You said that now the elements of education have also become 24/7, like other things in life, be it industry or transportation or electricity. Education also happens, and it has come in the control of small elements and devices like this, that they make you reach the world, whether you are in Spain or you are in Poland or in India, you are always connected. I think that's the power. Education is also getting help. There was a question which I saw in the Q&A, and there is someone who has asked that how soon and when will it reach India, rest of India? My answer to that would be simple. It has already reached the rest of India. It's not dividing India in any form, that there is an X which is getting and Y not getting. It is omnipresent. I must make a statement here that India is one of the cheapest when it comes to delivering bandwidth in the world, in terms of whatever parameter you will take per unit. India offers it very cheap. That is number one. So that makes the reach possible. Number two, we have experimented with devices like Akash, if you know, some of you 10 years back, which has led to massification of handheld devices. iPads and various tabs and various things were developed for educational purposes as well as non-educational. But today they offer all those services. So that's also there. Today also it's reaching rest of India, because what IIT Madras or NIT Surathkal does is available to rest of India, not selectively to their students. So it's reaching there. Yes, we understand that there will be some areas where the mobile connectivity will be less. Mobile is affordable, bandwidth is affordable, but mobile connectivity may be less. In that case, these avenues like academic cafes, which I was referring to, possibly can be boon, because somewhere in neighborhood of 4, 5, 10 kilometers, you'll find an educational institution or a college or something of that university or something. Or if not, an NIC center from government, which is their state center for information. And there you can create this and you can reach. So it's not necessarily, one would like to say at this point, that it is not reaching rest of India. That's my answer. So with that, I think we have done an overrun of 3 minutes in terms of time. If both Diego and Rocio allows, I'll try to take one final question with each of the speakers with a very short answer. Is that possible?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I got it. I got that question for all of you. And I will summarize also the roundtable, because all what you said was very interesting. But I have, as you know, here in this audience, there are a lot of people who is participant in the hackathon. So they are taking ideas to make solutions. And you were talking about make the education more updated, scalable, accessible, and make it simple also. So that with that input, I'm sure that they will be inspired and try to make a digital solution during the hackathon. And also, as you were talking, it's not just about to providing the resources or the infrastructure. You have also to provide the opportunity to do experiment in yourself, the education and physics, mathematics, or all the STEM subjects. So you gave great success cases and very inspirational examples. And my question is, if you should advise us how to make a solution for this hackathon, in which part of those problems that you were talking about, in which part you put the focus? You put the focus on making a scalable solution, making mobile, as Akila was talking, like mobile now is everywhere and is also affordable. And I can see that the connection is very good, but because Akila is in the car and we heard you very well, so that's great. And well, as we don't have more time, I just want to ask you that. And as also I can see, is getting later and darker. So just responding in 1 minute.
So can each one of you, three of you, please take a turn to share something in less than half a minute each, please?
Yeah, my suggestion will be, in India, mobile phone is available. As professor told that the mobile connectivity is less, but it depends on the service provider. For example, if two kids are there, but the social provider is different, but somehow some technology should happen there so that each can share their connectivity, or so some tool can be there to share their connectivity so that it does not affect them from learning.
Professor Ganga, please.
Yeah. In my opinion, there are three things need to be focused. One is connectivity, the device, and the content. All the three are equally important. The content is improving, and the device, affordability, and accessibility have to be improved, because India is a country with a large difference in urban and rural, so that even the rural kid should be able to afford and get that, and then the accessibility. So all the three are equally important, is my opinion. Professor.
Okay. Professor Pratap, please.
Yeah, so I think if they are looking for some problem statement to use for hackathon kind of activities, I would say, especially if students want to see content on their mobile phone, the screen is small. So if there is some software which, so when we record the video, we are not necessarily keeping in mind that it is going to be seen on a mobile phone. So if there is some way in which I can take a traditionally recorded video and run it through some software which will make it mobile friendly, not just with respect to the resolution, but also more intelligently look for text and keep that at some higher magnification, look for some optimization on the video so that it makes sense from viewing it on a mobile screen. And it does that in a some kind of an intelligent way where I don't have to go frame by frame and figure out, yes, there's a slide here, let's magnify this, there's something here, something like that. That would be very useful to have, I feel.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll add upon to his. We can develop web application, but a tool should decide. A tool should understand and make it mobile friendly. So that we need not develop every time mobile friendly application.
Exactly.
So my addition to the question Diego asked is that yes, scalability, equity, quality, all these things are being addressed. I would like to throw challenges in respect of how to deliver student centricity. What can be the tools which will make the education student centric rather than teacher or institution centric? Challenges of how to integrate all LMSs into URP and things of that nature. So there are plenty of problems which are there because we constantly thrive and drive what we call improve the quality and also the offerings. So sure, we'll be happy to share more avenues for our hackathon, and we'll also be keenly driving that at our own level and request all the audience to do so. So with that, from my side, I'd like to sign off. So thank you so much from a Burger King restaurant in Poland on a highway of Poland, where I'm moving to Krakow, the famous place where the concentration camps were there. And I'm going to get excited and more encouraged to learn about the world or the challenges we had in the past. Thank you so much, all the distinguished experts who have joined. Professor Pratap, Professor Gangadharan, Professor Akila, and thanks for this opportunity to us, both Rocio and Diego, to HackSTEM 2022 for calling us and sharing our views. Thank you. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Evening.
Thank you.